the School of Real Estate. Awesome students and all of our wonderful customers all over. Welcome to our live broadcast, our virtual classroom today, where I have the honor of having two of my longtime colleagues. And I did stress long time. We've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
And because of that, I know that they are the absolute specialist in new home sales, because our wonderful Rosemary Bickford, who's one of our instructors for the ALHS course and the CHMS course, she is principal in Brooklyn Custom Homes.
Yes.
So today Rosemary is going to talk to us about how we can better service our buyer, represent our buyer, and work wonderfully with the builder. And that information will be so important. So I hope everybody has their paper, their pen, their iPad, their computer, and you're ready to take great notes. I also have another longtime buddy, 30 years in the business, and she is the relocation specialist. In fact, I love telling everyone that having Lynn Breedlove here today, and Lynn is the director of relocation for Berkshire Hathaway Properties, and it's the premier properties office. But she's also a past president of Houston Relocation Professionals. And where I was going is, on a pretty regular basis, I see you quoted in the real estate section of the Chronicle.
Absolutely, yes.
So we have a real specialist in relocation and an absolute specialist in the new home business. And we are just going to have a great time today teaching you how to get commissions, how to do it the right way, how to service your buyers, how to take care of your sellers in those two particular niche areas. But I would absolutely be remiss if I did not say to every one of you in Austin, in San Antonio, in Fort Worth, in Plano, in Houston, online and live broadcasts, thank you for your business. I'm personally celebrating, Champions is celebrating 35 years in business this year, and it's because, yay, thank you, they have seen us grow over the years for sure. And without your business, I always say, we don't have one, and that is the truth. Also, a shout out to our president, Kimberly Didelowitz, who is over in the Austin region. And Austin will have a new wonderful 2-story office building where we're able to combine our online and our North Campus, and that will be open the 1st of January. So we're so excited about that. Without further ado, let's get started. So I hope everybody's ready to write down some wonderful nuggets of information. And I'm going to start right away with Lynn. Lynn, tell our wonderful students and viewing students, what is corporate relocation? Pretend as though I'm a brand new person walking in. What is corporate relocation?
Well, Rita, first I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity. This is an awesome opportunity, and I really appreciate this.
You are so welcome.
And,
Thank you.
you know, I'd like to say one more thing about
Sure.
you have a student in Austin, I believe her name is Lucy. Lucy, I almost forgot. I want to say hi to Lucy and good luck. You're at the best school to get training on, for sure.
For sure.
Hi, Lucy.
And so then people ask me, Rita, what is it that you do? And I tell them I'm a relocation director, and they kind of look at you like, okay, you must have made that up. What is it? And so it's really hard to explain to brand new agents and really anyone in the industry what I actually do. And what I like to do, if you don't mind, I'm kind of a visual person, so I'm gonna do a triangle.
Okay.
Okay. And at the very top of this triangle, you're going to see HR. HR is human resource people who are at the top of corporations like, let's say, Shell Oil, Exxon, whatever. And they're up there at the top, and what they're doing is creating policy and procedures for the transferee or the employee.
Okay.
Okay, then on my left elbow, which would be, I guess you're right up there in the picture, you would have the relocation management companies like Brookfield Relocation, BGRS, Altair, NEI Global Relocation, whomever. They're over here on this left side. And what they're doing is they're obtaining the business from the HR people at the corporate level.
Okay.
So then, and they're actually facilitating. My arms are getting tired. They're actually facilitating all the movements within the transaction of a transferee. For example, getting the brokers involved, the transportation, the mortgage, the title, the inspection, all of that. So that's what they're doing. Then on the other side, on my right hand,
This one, right
this
here.
one, this one.
We can help you hold those elbows up.
Yeah, please. Your frozen shoulders, so that helps. Is the Relocation Department. And I can bring it down now. So what we do is we are one of their vendors, if you will. We don't like to be called partners, but we're vendors. Mm-hmm. And they choose us to facilitate the buyers coming in or out of Houston and the sellers leaving Houston. So that's the best way that I can put it as simple, because I'm kind of a person who has to see. And so that's...
visual is just really good. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
So if I'm a brand new agent, how do I get the relocation business? What do I have to do in order to get my free, so to speak, referral? And then we'll talk about whether or not it's free, or what do I have to do in order to get that referral?
I get that question quite often, especially with new agents. They're very anxious and excited, and it's a great time to be a new agent, guys. Really, the bottom line is we have criteria. I set up my certain criteria, and then I'm required by relocation management companies also to have a criteria. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my criteria, along with the relocation management company, is you have to be in the business at least 3 years. Okay. And of those 3 years, you have to have sold $1 million, $3 million consecutively. Excuse me, it used to be $1 million years ago. $3 million consecutively for those 3 years. Mm-hmm. You have to go through 4 online modules, and all of this costs money. And then you also have to go through my annual training, which we will be having here tomorrow at Champion School of Real Estate. Thank you very much.
We're always happy to offer our classrooms when they're not being used to all companies.
Appreciate that.
So, Lynn, you've been in the business, relocation, for many years. I'm going to just say, and correct me if I'm wrong, there probably is many requirements on how to obtain relocation business from different companies as there are different companies. So I know you were giving the example of your company. When you are talking with a new person who walks in, if you were a manager, and I know Rosemary's been a manager of a large real estate company years ago, mm-hmm. before she decided to go into the construction of beautiful new homes. But if I were an agent walking into the company and I started straight out of the chute, really doing well, my first year, maybe I had 12 transactions closed. Would you say that maybe I might get a referral before I show a consistent pattern of $3 million for 3 years? What are your thoughts on that?
In my career, I have made 3 exceptions.
Okay.
And
just 3?
Yes.
I make exceptions all day long.
Okay then. 3 and 3.
I'm kind of tough. I know.
She's tough.
But it makes us a lot of money, guys. So I have to be tough. But
good answer.
The thing I really look for now, we do get broker leads in, and I like to hold those at the same high level because they need to be treated the same in my mind. And that's why I probably am a little more different than some brokerages, mm-hmm. Because I feel the client is got to be taken care of. And so, yeah, you just kind of build this box and you just have your box.
And you say these are the parameters and this is
it.
Yeah.
It makes it so easy because once you make an exception, it'll come back to you every darn time.
Exactly.
It just does.
Well, and dealing with relocation buyers, we deal with them all the time.
Yeah.
It takes that special agent to understand the stress.
It's just unbelievable.
They're new to the city. They don't know anything about the city. They're trying to find a place to live.
Yeah.
It's
Have you ever been a transferee yourself?
I have not.
I have. And I'm going to tell you, I think that's why I'm pretty good at what I do.
Yeah, because it is. You can
it's
see it on their face.
Unbelievable. We moved from Omaha, Nebraska to Corpus Christi, Texas with the Union Pacific Railroad. And I came from a family of 9 brothers and sisters, and they all pretty much still live in that area and other areas as well. But they were all there when we left, and literally it was so emotional that it was just really hard.
Yeah.
So, gosh, it just brings back the
Oh my
memories.
goodness.
It brings back your memories, and I try to impress upon the agents who haven't had this experience, get in their shoes. Get in those shoes. In fact, there's a video out
Well,
there.
that's what I was going to ask. What recommendations do you give to the agent? And you said get in their shoes, and then I interrupted. You were going to say there's a video.
There's a
What is the
video, and it's Plus Relocation. Give them credit for having that. And it's a video of a transferee's wife who has been left to sell the house, have the kids at home, have the school events, keep the house clean, show the house, all the things. And that woman, by the time she gets to Houston, is frazzled. She's absolutely fried.
Now let's talk about on the seller side.
Okay.
How does that work with relocation and listings?
Okay.
What's expected of the agent? That's a
Oh.
more clear question.
Oh, that's I'll just say this: all the agents want buyers because it's a lot easier. Easier in that you don't have all the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork with listings. Still some paperwork with buyers as well, but listings are you have to do that horrible ERC BMA form. Those of you who don't know that, you will never
What
want
does
to know
stand
that.
for?
Employee Relocation Council, and BMA is obviously the broker market analysis. And it's a 6-page document that takes 4 to 8 hours. By the first agents that get into this program, they take 8 hours to do it. The experience takes about 4. So that's just to walk in the front door. They have to have a professional. I have professional books for them.
This is such good information. I hope you all are writing this down.
Step
by
by too
step.
fast. Am I talking too fast?
No.
Okay.
Fine. And it's all worth it once they get through this.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's
Exactly.
definitely a light at the
She's
end
going
of
to have
this
a
tunnel.
smile on her face at the end of this.
I know.
That's why she loves this
Yes,
part
I
of
do.
real estate.
So you're going to receive a beautiful, fabulous leave behind that we have created. Your presentation is polished. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services gives us such unbelievable tools to be able to do the presentations to the max. Being part of the Warren Buffett family has just been phenomenal with the products and services.
So I know
that
a
we have.
question that some of our students are wondering.
Okay.
Because you were talking about your particular company and the presentation. So even though I'm an agent and I'm getting this referral on a listing and I work for Berkshire Hathaway, okay, do I expect to see other companies that will also have agents competing for that relocation referral?
That is why you have to be the most polished. Absolutely, you are going to have competition. The third-party relocation management companies will call 2 and sometimes 3 brokers out to do a market analysis. Yes.
Good, okay. And then how soon will I find out? Do I find out through you, my relocation director?
In a perfect world, yes. Do we? Sometimes we find out on MLS that it's listed.
Okay.
One of the downfalls in the industry is communication, I believe, in that arena. It could take up to 3 months because they're looking at possibly, depends on the transferee's benefit package. If he is getting a buyout, they have to do appraisals, they have to do this, they have to do that, they have to do the inspection just to get him ready. If they're going overseas, they have to get prepared for the visa and for the overseas documents that they have to have. So it could take up to 3 months.
Okay. And she mentioned the broker's opinion of value, and just to let you know, in our Powerhouse Marketing class, we walk through a broker's opinion of value and talk about how that differs from a comparative market analysis. So if I'm new and I'm doing well, or I'm experienced and I'm doing well, and I've gotten some referral leads, is it appropriate to go around the relocation department and try to go directly to the company? Do you ever have that happen? And how do you...
That's a visual.
Right. And how do you handle that? Because that would be disloyalty. But I'm sure some of them are thinking, well, at what point do I just talk directly to the company? Why would that not happen? Why should that not happen? Does the company protect you, the relocation department? So that's about a 3-question.
Yeah, it is. And it has nothing to do with what you asked me. Okay, here's the deal. I feel really bad when I see agents who are not within a company who has a relocation department, where they want to go out and get their CRP. That's a certified relocation professional designation. It is the most difficult test to take. It is a 6-month study, and it's very expensive. And I have seen agents who do with independent brokers that do not have relocation departments, and it's such a waste of their time. It's just, don't do that. Get involved with the company who has it if that's part of your interest, because it just doesn't work. Relocation managed companies will not work with an individual. You have to have a full service relocation department.
That's what I was wanting you to state.
Yeah,
that they look for the full service relocation department, pretty much.
Yeah, and a full
Unless
service.
it's a small mom and pop shop. There's
a few out there, and they've specialized in that. So there's a few small ones out there. I think there's a total of relocation directors across the city, about 6 in Houston.
Okay.
So you can tell the size of the brokerages in Houston, how many have that. But then there's a few smaller ones. Maybe there's 10 out there maximum.
Now, we don't ever talk commission percentages exactly as such, as Rosemary knows from classroom and sponsorships. And you as well. You've been at this school many, many times. And one of our customers also. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you. But what should the agent expect? Do they have to share in their commission with relocation? Do they have to pay a flat fee for getting that free referral? How does that work across the board?
That's a good question, and it's pretty much done the same across the board with all relocation directors. Some things change within their own companies, but there is a fee, okay, and it is anywhere from 38% to 42.5% at this point. I heard of some relocation directors upcharging the agents. I do not upcharge, but there are some who do. This is a very expensive endeavor to have a relocation department in a brokerage. I'm telling you, I'm really expensive.
Right. I mean, we're happy to have you here today, Lynn.
You look really expensive.
You look expensive.
Now my husband says that.
This is absolutely her niche, for sure.
So, anyhow, you're asking me about commissions. So then the commission comes off the top of the brokerage. The money comes into the brokerage. The commission comes, the referral fee, we call it referral fees, come off the top of that commission, and then so that's split with the brokerage, right? And then the split for the agents are 50-50 after that. Now you're going to think, why in the world would anyone do that, right?
Well, it's handed to them.
They're qualified. They're ready to rock and roll. I mean, they're coming into town. They have to have a house in 3 to 5 days.
Right.
Okay. They are motivated. They're a seller. They're motivated, right? And so the other benefit is our average sales price this year was $387,000, which is pretty high for Houston, right?
That's excellent.
Yeah. And we give them quantity as well as quality, the agents. So that's why they do it.
That's exactly what I was looking for. It's all of those steps that you take with a regular buyer or seller. Those many steps have been done in advance. So now you've got a qualified buyer ready to buy, You have the support behind you. And for that, it's like, here, okay, you can go out, spend a few days, and make a nice commission on that.
But we do try to focus on telling them we are gravy only. We don't want to be your mashed potatoes meat.
Exactly.
We're just the gravy.
And that's exactly the word I used yesterday in the
Oh.
pre-licensing class.
Okay.
I was telling them, your regular resale commission, working with a buyer, that is your bread and butter.
Right.
Relocation is the gravy.
Exactly.
on top of that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And we highly recommend that you only see it that way.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, some agents kind of get in a rut and just start depending on that, and that's when I kind of have to get with them and say, look, you know, this is
not
I'm
gonna
not
build
here
your livelihood.
I'm not here
Mhm.
to help you with your livelihood. I'm here to just help you with your career.
Right, the extra.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because you mentioned how long you've been doing this, you also mentioned that you're very expensive. And I love that.
Tell
Like I
Stacey.
said, I've known this lady for a long time. She's a great personality. It's so much fun. But what made you decide to make relocation your niche?
Good question. I got lucky.
You got lucky.
I got lucky.
Because there's some out there thinking, I think I want to be a relocation
You
person.
could get lucky too. Richard Smith, I'm going to give him credit for this with Coldwell Banker United, hired me I was managing a real estate office in the Woodlands, Texas at the time, and he asked me if I'd like to start a relocation department, and I thought, I always have had an attitude that can do, I'd love to.
We love that attitude.
Didn't know anything, I was deaf, dumb, and blind, but I went into it, and it's my niche. It's just exactly what I waited for 20 years. And so I was able
And
to...
he saw that in you.
Yeah, evidently. I mean, I really appreciated him giving me that opportunity. We started with 2 people and built it to 12, and then I had other brokers calling me and wanting me to work for them. So I've ended up working for 4 brokers in Houston, and I work for probably one of the best right now, Stacey Matthews.
That's
Love
great.
the man. Love the man.
A little shout out to Stacy. We know your office is going to be watching this. So let's move over to the new home department with Rosemary Bickford, Brooklyn Custom Homes.
Yes, good morning.
And is Ed watching?
I
Your other
don't know
half? You
because
don't
he had
know?
an appointment this morning,
Okay.
but he was going to try. Yeah.
Well, it's on
But he'll
YouTube
catch it
this
on
afternoon.
YouTube. Yes. Yeah.
So all of this, certainly your office can use it. All of our interviews are on YouTube by first thing tomorrow morning, if not the latter part of today. But Rosemary, we have brand new people sitting in class with that dream that Lynn had years ago, the dream that we all have, being entrepreneurs. So can you just give them your opinion of how a new person can make extra money, can make their commissions selling new homes? And I'm going to do a little tagline to that. What is the actual process I, as an agent, need to do when I bring a buyer to a new home community?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's a tremendous opportunity for a new agent. And I think before they have that first client, visit the new home sales offices in their farm area, in their area expertise. Learn about the product, learn about the options, so that when they get that first new home buyer, they're already an expert. They're familiar because that's what buyers want from their agents. So when they have this first buyer, they need to register the buyer for
Now, what does that
protection.
mean? What does that mean?
In my opinion, it means you accompany your buyer to the new home sales office, to the buyer's rep or the builder's rep or the builder, whatever the situation is. You introduce your client to the builder's rep, and you get involved in the process. You help them, guide them, find out all of the options. You are a major part of the process.
So when I walk in the door and I've got my buyer and you're the on-site sales rep.
Which I was for many years.
Exactly,
Yes.
you were. And she has on-site sales reps with Brooklyn Homes. many new people are wondering, well, what is my job? What do I do here? Because it can actually be just a little intimidating, because you know the property, you know the homes, you know all the construction terms. I don't, although we do have a designation course for that on new home construction, a one-day course. But if I walk in with my buyer and I just got my license, 2 weeks ago, what can I expect from you?
Well, if I can turn that around just a little bit,
Sure.
what the new home sales associate hopes
Mm-hmm.
is that buyer, first of all, the realtor has qualified the buyer
Perfect.
so that the buyer's time is not wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so difficult when a buyer is shown a home or a plan, and at the end of the day they can't qualify for that. So that is so key.
And tell them what you mean by qualifying. How are they going to get a qualified
They're going to
buyer?
visit they're going to make sure that the buyer has visited with a lender,
Exactly.
and that the lender has, maybe it's a pre-qual letter, maybe in luxury homes,
Mhm.
oftentimes they are fully qualified.
Prior to walking on site.
Prior to walking through the door, many, I come from the luxury end of the business, the custom end.
Mhm.
We won't sign a contract, for example, without a qualified buyer. And the buyer doesn't want to sign the contract without being fully qualified, because things are different with new construction contracts, especially custom contracts. Their money is non-refundable from the day it's called a commencement fee. They've probably already paid money for architectural drawings, and no one wants to spend money until they know that they are going to be qualified. So to me, that is so key.
It is, and we really
You must
teach.
love having a relocation agent come to you because they're already
Exactly. And
Exactly.
actually, honestly, when a realtor comes through that door, the first thought normally is, we have a qualified buyer. Because that's the way it should be.
That's the
We
way it should
have
be,
a
yeah.
qualified buyer.
So Rosemary's saying, there are buyers that are just on the weekend, they're just let loose to be on their own, and they walk onto the production home site or the new home site, whatever community it is, and that new home sales rep sees the buyer walk in. Well, at this point, they have no idea if they are qualified or not. But the point you're making, when they walk in with me, the real estate agent, with the buyer, we're going to always make sure that that buyer is pre-qualified or even pre-approved with
Yes.
some conditions.
Sure, yes.
And then I walk in, and I just hope and believe that, and I want the new home representative to just take over with my buyer in tow and explain everything.
And that happens with, hopefully, that their realtor there
Uh-huh.
to walk through the process with them. Yes, the new home rep, the builder rep, in custom building, the builder themselves,
Because
is
they
who
know
you're
the
meeting with.
property.
They know the property, they know the product, they know the options, they know the lots that are available. They, talk about, again, architectural drawings, specifications, things that realtors don't necessarily know all the details of, but they are there listening and guiding their buyer. And then hopefully it turns into a contract, and that's where the realtors who are custom and deal in new home sales a lot, they know the contracts because they are different from the 1 to 4.
Let's talk about that.
So,
Yeah.
Because we have the TREC new home contract, improved, unimproved, but then we also have the builder's contract. And I know with my own house, in fact, you all built it.
Yes.
Can't believe
we
it was
had that
5 years
amazing
ago.
opportunity, and we're still best friends. Great friends.
Still great friends. It says a lot for the fact that everybody working for a win-win, because it's just, you always find a good person to work with, and it works out so positively for both parties. But on that builder's contract, I know most builders, and Lynn knows the same, they expect to use their own contract.
They do.
So talk about the difference between the tract builders and the custom home builder or the on-site builder.
I have the most experience with the custom home builder. It is just a more involved contract because it has so many pieces to it. again, reference to architectural drawings, insurance limits, warranty, disputes, again, pages of room finish guides, specifications, allowance schedule. It is just much more detailed. I know the Trek
And I love detail, by the way.
Yes,
Detail is good.
Detail is good, and honestly, the realtors who deal with these contracts, they are very comfortable with them. There may be some negotiation. There's always negotiation.
Always, sure.
But they understand that the contracts, first of all, they understand that most builders will require that the contract is used. So how can we work through this? Because they are required usually. But the realtors understand that they are fair for both parties. And that's what a buyer needs, that representation from that realtor.
That's exactly where I was going. Buyer
Yes.
representation.
Yes.
So why, as a buyer, do I need a buyer rep? What are all the reasons that, first of all, we teach the buyer rep course, all brokers say get a signed buyer rep agreement, but we all know it's for the benefit of the buyer
Yes.
and the agent and the brokerage. But what are the benefits of that?
To me, the benefits are, let's take me. I'm a listing agent, I'm a builder, we're the seller. So my buyers are my customers. They are not my clients.
Exactly.
So what do I owe my customer? Of course, honesty, fairness, ethics. But they need a realtor. I really mean this. They need a realtor to represent them as their
And
client.
give advice and opinions.
And give advice and opinions, yes. And work for them. And if I may, today's buyer, in my opinion, is highly educated. But they just because they're highly educated, very successful, they don't understand the process.
They don't.
And they need their buyer's agent to explain that to them and to be with them from start to finish. And just moving into a bit, back to the relocation, so many of these buyers are relo buyers. And they know they're going to be moving maybe in 2 years or 4 years.
Do you think the average still is about
3 to 5?
3 to 5. Okay. it's
And
moving
that
up a
luxury
little
buyer, they're not going to be there, many of them, for more than 5 years.
Right.
So not only do they want their realtor to help them negotiate the contract, work through the options, choose the best lot for them, they expect they want these added value services. They want their realtor to be up on the latest technology, on the latest flooring and countertop options.
Exactly, the finishes.
The
What's
finishes.
popular?
What's the latest paint and wall finish? Which, we already know, in my end of the business, we already know what the 2019 colors are.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
can you tell us?
Yeah.
What are
Benjamin Moore was the first to come out
Okay.
with it.
they?
And still in the Gray family.
It is. Okay, good.
Gray,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And Benjamin Moore's is Metropolitan.
Okay.
You want to write this down because if you're going to remodel,
Yeah,
here it
yeah,
is.
Yes. It is a beautiful color, and they describe it as cool, comforting, and sophisticated.
Awesome.
Ooh, I
So,
love that.
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
What about exterior paints? I'm going to be painting my outside of my house. But
Yeah, that tends to
Depends
go
on the
with
part.
the architectural
Yeah,
style,
Okay. Okay.
but grays,
That's what I thought.
taupes, yeah,
Okay.
if it's a Spanish style white.
Yeah.
So they look to their realtor and they say, what's the latest technology? I mean, we know it. And that's why many realtors come into offices and say, tell me what the latest and greatest is. I want to get ready for my
Because
buyer.
we know
Yeah.
every thing we pick up on our tablets, it's, you should have this in your home. Your homes should all be talking to each other with this particular product. And so as a buyer, you're sitting there going, well, do all the builders offer this kind of wiring, this kind of technology? And we definitely know that the more you, as an agent, are able to give good information in all levels, then as well your buyer sees, wow, my agent's credible. And then when I sit down with you, the on-site agent, and say, well, what what is available for my buyer here.
Right.
On the wiring side, the technology side, the color side, the finishes side. So to have all that good information, again, that's why, little plug as well at Champions, we do all of the designation courses that involve that. Your staging course, CHMS, that you
Yes.
teach, the one-day course. It goes into colors, it goes into finishes, it goes into how to stage the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what we're both saying, or all three of us are saying, you have to show how valuable you are
You have to.
in order to
Yes.
earn your commission.
Yes, and the buyer expects it. And they will say, help me not to make a mistake, because I know I'll probably be transferred in 3 years. So hopefully the realtor knows what is on trend,
Mhm.
but also timeless. For example, maybe travertine floors,
Mhm.
or what is on trend but is not timeless and maybe has already. May I give a quick example?
Please do.
Rose gold in the right at the late 2017,
Mhm.
early 2018. Vendors came out with rose gold appliances and light fixtures.
Wow.
Well, they're off the shelves.
Some people right now are listening to this going, rats.
But, and if you have it, it's fine, really.
I missed that bullet.
But
Okay.
apparently rose gold is a lot better in jewelry
So popular.
than in, and so
That was a
educated.
huge step for manufacturers
Huge,
to take.
but we recently attended an event at one of our appliance vendors, and it was a big mistake. I mean,
You have to turn your necklace
and
into
so if
a-
somebody says, "What about this rose gold?" The educated realtor will say, "No, it's maybe on trend, but it's not going to be popular for
It's not
very long."
lasting.
Yeah, or everything that you see on Pinterest and on House, those are wonderful sites, but you can sometimes go overboard.
Mhm.
And I had a recent buyer, and they said, we want all open shelves in the kitchen, no cabinets. And I just sat there and listened, and their realtors.
So no doors on cabinets?
No
or
doors,
anything?
you know,
Okay.
because that's what you see right now on some of the sites.
Uh-huh.
And their realtor said, no, you don't.
Mhm.
I had a client who just did that. It's too hard to keep clean, and you need some storage.
Yeah.
Behind those
Behind
doors.
those doors.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like this buyer today wants.
Mhm.
Negotiation, getting through that contract, that's just the beginning.
So now the purchase offer is written, signed, sealed, delivered by all parties, and I'm the agent. How often should I hear from you? How often do you want to hear from me? What is our relationship after I bring the buyer to you? And I mean, strictly, you do this all day long. So
Mhm.
how much do you want to hear from me? And
I think a little of that depends on how much their client, our customer, wants them involved. But certainly we want to be, it's our obligation, I feel like, to respect them, welcome them into the program. But certainly they need to be there when the buyer, for inspections, for example, in the custom builder contract, we recommend inspections we actually
let's talk
recommend
about that
this.
for just a second, because
Yeah.
it's different with a pre-owned than a new home.
Yeah.
What type of inspections do we have with a new home?
We actually have an addendum to the custom builder contract. This sounds a little strange, but we want them to have independent inspections. Even though the 10-year limited warranty company provides inspections, the city of Houston does. Pre-sheetrock, electrical pre-sheetrock, the engineering, first of all the plans are engineered, but an inspector comes out along with the engineer, pre-sheetrock, the electrical phase, and then of course the final inspection. And some buyers and some realtors feel like that money is not necessary, but it is. I mean,
Those are
never,
great stopgap moments to fix problems.
yeah, and never, I hope a realtor never says, don't worry about it. It's new construction, you don't have to work, because it's for everybody's protection
Well, it's just
that they get
humans.
inspection.
They're
We all
putting
make
it
mistakes.
together, right?
Yes.
And we all do.
Could
Yes.
you come and talk at my training tomorrow?
Sure. Well, yes.
Could you? I'm going to have you stop in for a minute.
She's very expensive.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, gee, what's it going to cost
Rosemary's
me?
very expensive also.
I'm sure she is.
And then, of course, just being involved in the walkthrough and the final walkthrough and being there to represent the buyer and helping us if, in that rare instance, there is a stressful situation. Prepare them for the unexpected.
Let's talk about the buyer that looks at a neighborhood, they love the neighborhood, they find your lot, it's owned by you, and you're the builder, you own the lot, and the requirements also by the lender or by your own company is that you build. If somebody's going to buy that lot, they use you, the builder. So that being said, as the agent, when I bring the buyer to you and they find that lot they love, do I, the agent, also get typically a commission when the house is built, or is it just on the lot?
This is just my experience.
Exactly.
Because we're involved in master plan communities where the developer has hired an on-site salesperson. They are licensed realtors. And the short answer to that question is yes, because when they find the lot, help the buyer buy the lot, yes, they are also involved in the entire process. The only time I can think where that wouldn't happen is if a buyer doesn't build for 3 or 4 years and maybe they've lost touch with the realtor, which shame on the realtor.
Exactly.
But certainly it is expected that the realtor would get the commission on the lot and the new home construction.
I want to say what an amazing professional Rosemary is, because that's a very difficult question to answer. We would get maybe different answers based on who the particular developer is. I feel comfortable saying that most of our longtime developers in Houston would answer that exactly the same. But Rosemary had a couple of awesome conditions in that, and one is that you keep up with the buyer, and as well that you know that the construction is going to take place fairly soon. And I know many builders have a requirement on how long.
Maybe no longer than a year or 2 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that question comes up a lot in class. So I know you've done a great service answering that to so many people.
I think years ago it was different. But I think that builders, developers, on-site salespeople are doing a much better job of saying right off the bat, when a buyer comes in, do you have a realtor, who is your realtor?
Who is your
realtor? Yes.
Which is a wonderful springboard to my other question that Lynn knows comes up all the time with, I, the agent, worked with this buyer all week long. The weekend comes, the buyer says, oh, we don't need to get together this weekend. You don't need to show me anything. First of all, for the agent that's experienced, they're like thinking, okay, well, where are you going to be?
Yeah, totally.
And they are going to be out inspecting on their own different new home communities. So my advice to new people is, before that happens, when you first meet with the buyer, your buyer, you're going to represent, say, and I can also represent you with new homes. And you do need me to represent you with new homes, but this buyer didn't hear that and didn't get it. So they're out on different properties, and they go to a property and they fall in love with a house. And on Monday morning, unfortunately, Rosemary gets the phone call from the agent saying, my buyer wants to buy your house, and they're my buyer, and how am I going to get paid? Wow, that is such a difficult question. So as a professional, and I know you've heard it, how would you answer it?
Well, I think it depends. Was a contract written? Because if a contract is written,
It's too late.
it's too late.
They weren't with the buyer.
They
were
weren't
not
with the buyer.
representing the buyer.
When the buyer filled out the registration card and it said, who is your realtor?
Exactly.
Because it actually is print, and they put none.
None.
we really do try to find out. But if the realtor hasn't done their job, hasn't said, make sure that if you go out on your own, they know you're being represented.
Here are my cards.
Yes.
Let them know you have representation.
But if contract is negotiated, signed, it's too late.
It's such a sticky, icky situation that I know you don't want to be involved in.
Right.
You don't want to be involved in with relocation. I, the agent, don't want to be involved in, and for goodness sake, the buyer doesn't want to be involved in it.
Right.
So if we just have that conversation prior to saying, okay, well, go ahead. If you're not going to stick with me this weekend to look at homes, or we kind of suspect they want to go out on their own because often they think they can get the property, the house, for less money. And in fact, we know that you need representation in our area across the state of Texas. Every single metro you're in, our builders, developers plan on paying a commission on a property.
Yes.
And that's all the buyer needs to do is remember that, yes, you do have an agent. In fact, they spent 2, 3, 5, 10, 2 weeks with you. How, buyer, could you possibly be disloyal to me, the agent? Give them cards, explain that you represent them as well on a new home.
Absolutely.
And you know, the part of all that is strictly educate them to the point where they're almost sick of hearing about it, but you've got to make sure that they understand that you can represent them in new home sales as well as residential resale, because that is probably even more important because there's so many, like you said, your contract is so detailed.
Yes.
So they really need someone there to help them, guide them through that. And I was going to talk about the colors and things, you know. I think if I were you as a brand new agent, I remember when I came into Houston and I was an agent at that time, and I didn't know the area and I didn't know anything about Houston. I was selling in Corpus Christi. But I started just going to open houses.
Absolutely.
And I learned the colors. I learned everything, and it just really helped me get going and move faster than I think I would have moved.
Yes.
And it really helps for your own house. I mean, agents always know it's time to change the color in my house.
I just did berries.
Exactly. You get the first opportunity to be the trendsetter.
Yes.
And then your neighbors say, oh, why are you painting your house?
Again.
And you get to say, oh, you still have that beige? Gray is much cooler. So, with both of you being extremely experienced and having seen all particular situations over the years, I always love to ask the question, starting out brand new with your license, starting out in the business, what advice would you give to your younger self? Lynn?
Well, I'm going to ponder on that just a minute. I have to say, I could find something that I would say maybe I should have been more up on technology. Maybe I should have done this or that. But, you know, bottom line, I was so lucky to get into this, and I've been so blessed to be able to be successful and have the wonderful people around me. Our agents and my staff are, without a doubt, the best I've had, and my brokerage as well. So I guess I don't really have anything to say to my younger self other than I wished I would have bought some stock in Berkshire Hathaway.
And there's a plug if I've ever heard of
And
it.
there's a I kind of knew where that was going.
And that's okay.
We have to put our money together to buy one stock, though.
So, Rosemary, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Well, I don't think I ever burned a bridge, but I think it's important to never burn a bridge. You never know what comes around goes around. I would also say continue to be educated. There's something we can learn every single day, and be ready to change at a moment's notice.
change is so important because
Change
our
in education.
industry changes just every week.
Yes.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you're not
And that's why
willing
you're
to change,
successful, right?
you'll be left behind.
If you don't change it.
Yeah.
We've seen so many changes in our industry, and last month when I was talking to Amy Bernstein and Ronnie Matthews, superstars, and they're on YouTube, their interviews are there, I was talking about that very thing, and what are the disruptors in our industry? And there are so many disruptors, meaning status quo. If you're happy with status quo, you're really not building your business. And so these disruptors come in, such as artificial intelligence, which helps you have an assistant that doesn't really cost you anything. It's the particular software that you go with. And we've always promoted Skylar 360 because the developer is one of our broker students, and he does an awesome job with that. And other disruptors being, for sure, technology, being the way people as agents do business now, where maybe it's a virtual office versus a brick and mortar office. So change is just expected in our business.
You know, the disruptor situation is really affecting the location as well. In fact, we're going to be having a training tomorrow here again, plugging for you. And one of the roundtables that we're going to have is the iBuyer, the disruptive iBuyer now that's coming in.
Explain what an iBuyer is.
Well, just as an example, we get a lead in from a relocation management company for a listing opportunity. Okay. And we and another broker gets the same lead, and we call and set up an appointment. Within 24 hours, this buyer, this seller, who owned the home, called, and I guess I can just say Open Door, and Open Door offered them a price to sell their house. We go out to do the presentation. He says, "Oh, I've already sold my house to Open Door." We didn't even get in the door. The relocation management company lost their referral fee. We lost our commission, and it was a relocation buyer. So he may fall. Now it was a lump sum. So that lump sum means he didn't really have any relocation benefits. So he can do what he needs to do, but we like to still keep them under the umbrella to help them through the process.
Okay.
And so we totally lost the deal. So we're having major discussion in our industry.
And Open Door is a good example of a disruptor. And Google Open Door and see how they work with the purchasing of your home and the conditions.
And it isn't just, I mean, there's so many of them out there.
There are so many, and if we had to list all of the disruptors over 30 years that we've been aware of, and yet look at us today. We're all still
here
in the business.
We're going to make it.
Yes.
All entrepreneurs. I am happy to say successful in everything that we do. So being open to change, Rosemary, that's a great statement to make. And not being afraid to move in that direction when we do have whatever you want to call it, a change in the business, disruptors. So a little bit of advice for brand new people, and we will close on that. Brand new person in the business watching in our classrooms across the state of Texas, if not other places in the world, with our virtual classroom delivery that we have. Brand new person, what is one thing they could do today or at the beginning of their career that you think would really service them well for the rest of their career? Anything basic to the business that comes to mind? I know you mentioned education, and we have many programs for that. But is it any particular area that comes to mind?
I think it's who you know. It's
letting them know you're in real estate.
Them,
yes.
Networking, educating them what you do, and stay in front of them.
And stay in front of them. Because I think, as we talked about today, you have a relationship, but then if you don't keep up with that relationship, and then down the road, they sell their house and they invite another agent to list it for them. And you're thinking, why didn't they use me? I'm the one that sold them the house. And Rosemary's answer a few minutes ago, you never stayed in touch with those clients.
It's an industry problem, I think.
It is an industry
It's just
problem.
I mean, they've got it. Bird in hand.
Even NAR, a couple of years ago, in their member study, it showed such a low percentage of sellers who use their initial buyer's agent to list their house. And they had all these gambits of why you didn't relist. Did they do a good job as a buyer's agent? Yes.
Yeah, love them. Mm-hmm.
And the answer was, I didn't hear from them afterward.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Top of the mind awareness.
It even happens in relocation, which I'm amazed, because these people move in and out of town every 3 years, 3 to 5 years.
Stay in
so
touch.
What I did is I just started sending my own stuff out to the transferees within my department, so that they'll keep.
You did the job for the agent,
Yeah.
just sending it out.
Because I want to make sure it was going to get it done.
I think we've already said it, but just gather as much information as you can so you're ready for that first client.
You feel confident.
Yes. Because
Well,
today's buyer wants you to act, they want to do business with confident, successful people.
And speaking of confidence, thank you. We have our Taking the Lead series with Logan Stout. Oh my goodness. Logan has brought us 4 of the most dynamic people since we started this in August. And he interviews them for an hour. Logan himself is an outstanding retired baseball player who is just so dynamic when he works with people in all areas of life. He's an entrepreneur. He is an amazing owner of the Dallas Patriots, which is a huge team for kids. He has the Logan Stout Foundation for kids that have ability but maybe not the funds to be able to have all the great coaching. But he's brought in some awesome people to talk to you about the total you, how to stay motivated in your brain, certainly physically motivated as well to do the best job ever. And we have trainers and companies that teach you the mechanics of real estate, loan, appraisal, inspection. But with Logan's guest, they're talking to you about how to make the transition from your current career into real estate or loan or appraisal or inspection or anything for that matter. And next Tuesday, the 13th at 9 to 10, he's going to be interviewing Jeff Bannister. Jeff is recognized on and off the field of his professional baseball career. He spent 30 plus years as a successful coach and manager for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Jeff is going to talk with you about how, first of all, he's like the most winningest coach for the Rangers. And he's going to talk about how he came from sort of very difficult times, maybe growing up financially with funds, in order to allow himself to grow to be an awesome, incredible, well-known manager of professional baseball teams. And that story will be remarkable. It will motivate you, and that's next Tuesday. It's only $35 for that particular session. Go to championschool.com and you'll see the banner, and you can register for the Logan Stout Taking the Lead with Champions. Logan himself will absolutely make you feel so awesome about the direction that you're going in your new career as an entrepreneur. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Rosemary Bickford.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Our wonderful longtime instructor teaching the luxury course, teaching the staging course, but principal owner along with her husband, Ed Bickford, with Brooklyn Custom Homes. And we have Lynn Breedlove, and if you haven't heard often enough from her, she is with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the Premier Properties Division. And I say that tongue-in-cheek, laughingly, because it's an awesome company, and I do tell everyone that has been one of my guest speakers, so to speak, or interviewees, yes, certainly talk about your company, because we have incredible companies in the state of Texas. They are all outstanding. Thank you for your business at Champion School of Real Estate, and we will see you next week for Logan Stout taking the lead. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.